I want to read the statement by Reuben Kigame, who is the founder and leader of Maadili Movement. This we are calling it Maadili Movement, from where Daktari Muhoro said that the issue of small parties, we are calling it Maadili Movement. My name is Mwalimu Michael Gashohi. I say that I am the standing senator in Nakuru. There is a sitting one, but I'm the standing one. And once given the seat by the Wananchi, I'll sit on it and do the mandate what it requires. At the same time, I'm the acting secretary for Maadili Movement. I want to read just a statement. On behalf of Maadili Movement, our partner organizations and the great people of Kenya, we wish to strongly condemn the imposition of yet another finance bill that is more punitive and draconian than the 2023 bill, now an act. We demand that the entire bill be thrown away and a new people-centered bill drafted by our own financial experts as a country. The fact that the IMF and World Bank have congratulated the government seems to point that their emissaries may have had a hand in the preparation of the budget statement and the bill. We insist that Kenya is a sovereign country and must not be dictated on what our priorities should be. As the Maadili Movement, we note with deep concern that this bill overtaxes an already overburdened citizen, but especially Mama Mboga and Boda Boda that the Kenya Kwanza government vowed to protect. As we speak, many are stressed, without food, without rent, without work, without education, without hope. So passing this bill will lead to untold suffering and the ultimate destruction of our economy as a country. What is more, the bill comes from a government that spends our incomes extravagantly through foreign trips, lack of priorities, and outright looting. We argue that a real people-centered budget must lower and rationalize our taxes, deal with corruption, prioritize food security, health, and education while creating jobs for the people. We need to see accountability in debt procurement and management, and we need to encourage investment instead of pushing investors to our neighboring countries through horrible fiscal policies. The insensitivity to people's need is numbing. For example, while billions are being allocated for foreign travel and entertainment, the budget for the employment of JSS teachers was being slashed from an estimated 16.6 billion to 14.4 billion. There is also reduced allocation for health by about 11 billion and scrapping of Linda Mama initiative. Allow me to address our members of parliament now directly as they seek to discuss this year's budget. Our single message to them is this: throw the finance bill to the black holes. Remember, you have delegated power, and so if you pass the bill without listening to the many voices of Kenyans on social media and in the towns and the villages of this country, be sure that we will not need you after you vote yes to the bill. We appeal to every member of our National Assembly, urging that the 2024 finance bill be rejected in totality, pending substantial revision and rewriting, factoring in all the negative effects and serious concerns from a huge section of our society. Article 1 of our Constitution clearly states that the sovereign power belongs to the people of Kenya, but that the people may exercise their sovereign power either directly or through their democratically elected representatives. As a representative of the people exercising delegated power, we ask you to reject the proposed finance bill for the following reasons. Number one, it is ambitious but not attainable. According to the Business Daily, by the 20th of March 2024, KRA had collected 1.37 trillion in taxes in the 8 months that ended February, leaving it with a task of collecting 280 billion monthly over the remaining 4-month period in order to meet its target of 2.5 trillion. The Budget and Appropriations Committee has approved a budget of 3.914 trillion. We are concerned that you are about to approve a 4 trillion budget when attaining a 2.5 trillion revenue correction has been difficult. Given the massive borrowing and careless expenditure by the government in the last financial year, our appeal to you to reject this bill pending revision is in view of the need for Kenya to style up and live within existing means. Number two, why the MPs should throw this bill out. The proposed bill is unreasonable because it purports to raise revenue without a clear corresponding need-based budget, and it's proposed without a justification of the realizability of the 2023-2024 budget. It is like a parent proposing that the family should go out for dinner at a 5-star hotel every day of the month when they cannot pay house rent and can hardly afford a simple meal per day at the house. It is like chasing waterfalls when you cannot handle the rivers and streams that you are used to. Again, what is the sense of huge projections for tomorrow when you cannot take care of today? To break even as a country, we must take stock of where we have come from and deal with the present before ambitiously chasing the future. The formula for increasing revenue is totally absurd. You cannot punish citizens with increment in taxes, having destroyed their ability to generate personal and business income. The reasonable thing would be to lower taxes while broadening the tax bracket. Then you can generate more, and any expenditure projection must be predicted upon a realistic calculation of our GDP, paying particular attention to the inflation rate. We must add, though, that it is important to put qualitative analysis of our economy before GDP quantification. This is because reality on the ground shows Kenya's economy is dwindling instead of improving, as the official statements seem to indicate. The projected finance bill, proposed finance bill, is not profitable for people of Kenya. That's number 3. It is punitive and will increase citizen misery. As representatives of the people, you must always ask the question, how can we balance taxation and policy against the improved standards of living for the people? No government policy is useful if it increases the suffering of the people. You cannot deny a cow sufficient grass and water, then force it to produce milk. The suffering and impoverishing of the people automatically leads to less revenue, not to mention the number of businesses that have closed shop in Kenya and moved to the neighboring countries. The finance bill lacks, number 4 is that the finance bill lacks sufficient public participation, as our leader, Reuben Kigame, has said. Remember that our constitution says in Article 10 that public participation is one of our national values and must be taken into account when making any government policy or decision. The window of the so-called public participation closed with millions of Kenyans having never seen the Finance Bill 2024. Every public document and policy statement must be accessed by all citizens. This includes availing the bill in Braille for persons living with visual challenge, as well as sending sign language interpreters across the country to translate the provisions of the bill for those living with hearing impairment and cannot read. The bill was mainly availed online, yet millions of Kenyans have no access to a smartphone. Besides, the bill should have been presented and summarized on all major media outlets, including vernacular radio as well as television. In view of the foregoing, we urge you, the honorable members of parliament, to honor the citizens of Kenya as their representatives by raising these concerns and rejecting the bill. represents by raising these concerns and rejecting the bill pending all the relevant changes. God bless you and God bless Kenya. Signed, Reuben Kigame, Chairman, Mandili Movement, and witnessed by Mwalimu Michael Gashohi, Acting Secretary, Mandili Movement. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
The people that retired and are at home now, who are old, are struggling. They have not got their retirement benefits for months, and they have got life to live. It is important for the representatives of the workers to remember that these are the people who used to pay them salaries before they left their work, and they need to live. They need to be supported. How would an old man who retired from work, who cannot even get another job because of age, survive without the money that is due for him? So we urge the government to hasten and pay these old people who retired their money back, because I would say that the government is stealing money from these workers, the retired workers, which is very bad. So it's stealing both the money from the civil servants, from the workers who are being deducted affordable housing tax levy because they were never consulted. That is stealing, and it's also stealing money by denying the retired workers their dues. Thank you very much.
My name is Dr. Muhoro Michael, Secretary General, Chama cha Mwananchi, and the National Convener of small parties in the country. We are here at this time in history of our country where there is a cause. And we do know that when there is a problem in this country, political parties and trade union have always come together. We know that from our independence days, from the second liberation. And today we are here as political parties. I know in the last decade or so, parties have really have not played any part when it comes to issues that touch on Mwananchi. So today, as small parties, whom are no longer small, because in the last few months, thousands of Mwananchi have joined what was so-called small parties. So here today, we are here today as important day. We are calling it the Nakuru Declaration, where we are saying Wananchi are joining the parties that were so relegated or they had forgotten. And Chama cha Mwananchi, one of the oldest small parties that was formed in year 2006 by our party leader, Mheshimiwa Koigwa Mwere. We are here today to say that we are speaking on behalf of the citizens of this country, and we are endorsing Brother Reuben Kigame to be our spokesman, to be our leader in terms of expressing the struggles we do have as citizens of this country, the majority who are silent, the majority whom we have been called small parties. And today, in this Nakuru Declaration, we have endorsed Reuben Kigame to represent the small parties and also to support him. And in this struggle of finance bill, we are saying it is a Mwananchi-led struggle. Yes. We are here to give it power. We are here to give it power in terms of parties. And we do believe that once the citizens say no, once the citizens allies, history is replete of examples where the Wananchi started a struggle. This is a struggle of Wananchi. So the small parties, as a national convener of small parties, led by Chama cha Mwananchi, we do support this start from Brother Reuben and trade unionist Kiniti and Mwalimu Gashohi to come together and lead this struggle. I think I'll be giving to our press statement for comprehensive explanation of what I'm saying. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Allow me to take the appropriation first, because everyone rushes to question the appropriation without discussing what is being appropriated. Many times we hear that there is an appropriation, and yet appropriations are made as budget proposals without looking at what it is we are funding. And so the problem is that we have experts around the president and around Kenya Kwanza that are not helping the president to actually view the budget and the proposals in view of the citizen needs. And so Parliament will certainly vote over certain proposals, but those proposals are based on what? So who came up with these proposals? What are the figures? And how do they propose to fund whatever it is they are proposing? You don't just come up with a 3.9 trillion budget without asking how you will generate the revenue, or without looking at the previous government expenditures and appropriations. So I would say the entire principle is wrong before you even get to discuss the appropriation as well as the bill. But secondly, the issue of borrowing. That is the elephant in the room, because there are three problems with this government as well as the previous government's approach to borrowing. First of all, we are supposed to borrow for development. The question is, can the previous government and the current government explain to us which projects were funded, how much, and what was achieved by which project? There is almost zero record in this particular regime of development programs with corresponding expenditure. So money borrowed is supposed to be spent on development. Which development? Instead, we hear scandal after scandal. Now, the second problem is that we have a lot of what we call odious debt. So money is spent, it's borrowed and spent, then citizens pay for what they never saw. Most of that money never actually comes into circulation here. A lot of the money is hidden in offshore accounts by our leaders. And people don't want to talk about this, but our leaders trade with our lives. They are merchants on hire. Actually, they've hired themselves. So they borrow and borrow and borrow, but keep putting in the pockets. That money, it never gets spent on citizens. That is a wrong way to do borrowing. And the last thing I would say about borrowing is this. For massive amounts of money to be committed to the country called Kenya, whether from China or from Bretton Woods institutions or whatever, who gives the mandate for our leaders to borrow in our name? Who says this is okay? And Parliament just sits there like a stooge, watching, I'm saying it's the wrong way to do government. You don't go commit ourselves and our future, our children and their children, to incur debts they will never be able to pay. And so we say even the entire borrowing principle is wrong and it needs to be revised. We need to live within our means. That is our emphasis.